Hinduism says, for example, we have three bodies. The flesh body or physical body. Then the spiritual body, which they call the astral body. Then the super consciousness, our mind. So why do they talk about the astral body? Because some of these holy men, they have developed psychic powers and they could see. So there is no conflict with the suttas. But there is conflict with Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma does not believe that there is soul. Abhidhamma does not believe that when a person dies, something leaves the body. For example, rebirth into the womb. They say, some of them say, consciousness enters the womb and takes rebirth there. But in the suttas, you cannot have consciousness entering the womb. Why? Because consciousness cannot exist by itself. Consciousness means consciousness of the six senses. Seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smelling consciousness, tasting consciousness, touch consciousness, and thinking consciousness. So consciousness must reside in the six organs. Must come from the eye, the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So without the six organs, the six sense bases, how can you have consciousness? Consciousness cannot exist by itself. The Buddha said in the suttas, if you have consciousness, it must come together with the five aggregates, which is principally body and mind. So in the suttas, it is said that for a person, for rebirth in the womb, there must be three conditions. One is the being to be born in the womb is waiting. This is called the Gandhabba in the suttas. In later books, they call the intermediate body. I think in Chinese they call it Zhong Yin Shen, intermediate body. So this being to be reborn in the womb, after it passes away, is waiting to go into the rebirth. And some people who remember their past lives, they said after they passed away, they had a body which was a few inches high. And they're walking around, didn't know where to go. So this being must be present. Second condition is mother and father must come together. Third condition is mother must be in season, is fertile. Then the being lodges itself into the egg of the mother in the womb. And once it lodges itself in the egg starts to grow into a being. If it did not go into the egg will not grow. Like what they call long chong tan. The chicken egg in the factory that is not fertilized, it will not hatch into a chicken because it's not fertilized. So, in the suttas, there is a being that goes into the womb. Secondly, in another sutta, the Buddha said, the being that enters the womb are four types. One enters the womb unknowing, blur, enters the womb. Stays there also, blur, doesn't know what's going on. Comes out also unknowing. Another type enters the womb knowing. After he enters the womb, blur, doesn't know. Come out also doesn't know. The third type enters the womb knowing and then stays in the womb knowing. But when he comes out, he does not know. Then the fourth type, the best is like our bodhisattva. You see, enter the womb, he knows. Stays in the womb, he knows. Come out also, he knows. So that shows there is a being that enters the womb. There are several things in the suttas that are contradictory to the Abhidhamma. This is one of them. Another thing that makes me accept that there is a soul is that the Buddha has several psychic powers. One of his psychic powers is called this mind-made body. Sometimes when the Buddha's disciples were practicing so hard at night, they try not to sleep. They try to attain the jhanas one by one, and they try to keep mindful 24 hours a day. So like Venerable Moggallana, he refused to sleep. He was so tired until in the middle of the night he fell asleep. Then the Buddha went to him. But to go to him in the physical body is quite far. So the Buddha, what did the Buddha do? The Buddha came out from the top of his head. Another body came out from the top of his head. And the body is a golden body that looks quite like the physical body. So the Buddha went to this Venerable Moggallana and asked him to wake up and asked him to strive harder. Then he got a shock. The Buddha so far away can come to him. Mm-hmm. So he knew that the Buddha was watching him. CCTV watching him. Dare not sleep. Night after night. Second night also like that. Too tired, fell asleep. Again the Buddha went to him. Third night also like that. Buddha went to him. So he struggled until 7 days he became an arahant. Didn't sleep for 7 days. So you see, this is another thing that shows there is such a thing as an astral body, like what the Hindus talk about. Another one is in the suttas. Venerable Sariputta said, if a person's karma is so bad that after he passes away, he's destined to go to hell. The hell beings will come up when he's dying. The moment he dies, the hell beings will drag him down to hell. So what are they dragging? They're not dragging, they don't want his smelly corpse, They're dragging his soul down to hell. So what is this soul? This soul is a spiritual part of us. And this soul changes with our character. If you are a ngao ching, you'll be a ngao. Your astral body will be a ngao. So that's why the Buddha said, if you want to go to heaven, you got to change your character right now until you become a deva or a devi now. In other words, your astral body has turned into a deva or a devi. And then you will automatically, the moment you pass away, the heavenly chariot will come for you. But most people, you have a ghost inside there. So, if you have a ghost soul, you have to be very careful. If you drive at night, the ghost might cause you to have an accident because the ghost wants you to be his girlfriend or his boyfriend. The moment you have an accident and you pass away, it's waiting for you. So, these devas, devis, and ghosts, they can see our soul inside. So if you are a very virtuous monk, just like some monks, they go into the deep forest to meditate alone. They will meet in the deep forest fierce ghosts and fierce devas. But when these fierce ghosts and devas look at them, they know what type of person this person is. And they will respect if you are a virtuous person. They won't harm you. On top of this evidence in the suttas, this chair is a bit narrow to turn around. On top of these incidents in the suttas, there are incidents in real life that have made me believe. One is that an old devotee of mine in Penang, he said years ago the auntie was dying. And the auntie had a very nasty character, very bad-tempered, full of hatred. 2 days before the auntie died, as she was sleeping, the Dracula teeth came out. long Dracula teeth. All the children saw, they got shocked. And this man who told me he saw himself. So 2 days later, when that lady passed away, the Dracula teeth disappeared. What does it mean? It means the soul is coming out. As we are 2 or 3 days before we die, our body is getting weaker and the soul is coming out. And that's why they start to see another world and all that. So she has turned into this Dracula, fierce ghost. Ghosts also got many types. That's why the moment she died, the soul left the body and the teeth disappeared. Another one is that recently a lady devotee told me the brother-in-law is a businessman, and because of greed, he went to get some this, what we call Kwai Chai, Kui Kia. Come on. This ghost, this spirit. When they acquire it, it might be like a baby ghost, very easy to take care. But then as it grows, the teeth will come out. And then it's not satisfied with normal food. It wants blood. And then after that, it wants sex. But he will serve you, whatever you want him to do, he will serve you. So this man, by keeping this spirit, he became a multi-millionaire. But now he's dying. Now that he's dying, the ghosts want to come and bring him for rebirth. So of course he's scared. Hold on to life, refuse to die. Drag on, day after day, drag on. Now this devotee told me, the sister says, the husband's face has turned into a fierce being, totally different face. Going for rebirth in the fierce realm. So you see, that person, if he's going for rebirth in whatever realm, his face will change. The other one, also a young devotee, beginning of this year, told me the mother was dying of cancer. I had asked the mother to come to keep 8 precepts in our monastery. She came 2 or 3 times. I could not stay long. Too much attachment, she went back each time. So as she was dying, over the few days before she died, her face started to change into a ghost face. The son got alarmed. The son called me up and told me. I said, most people are like that. Most humans, when we die, a normal human being will take rebirth in the ghost realm. If you do evil, you'll be either an animal or a hell being. But a normal person, because of selfishness, will turn into a ghost. Because you have used up our good karma. As a human being, we are like a deva or devi. A lot of people don't realize, as a human being, we have a better life than some devas and devis. Those low devas, like ghosts, this snake devas, nagas, and garudas, bird devas, they have to kill to cari makan. You don't have to kill. But there's some poor people, every day they have to hunt, they have to fish to survive. Those low devas are like that. But you're all very well off, You see, can listen to Dhamma in an aircon room. Yeah. Like in heaven, like that. So, here's another case. Another one, many years ago, one man told me his real experience. He was probably a gangster. He told me at one time, there were 4 men out to kill him, They chased him. He knew they wanted to kill him. So he ran for his life as fast as he could. And these 4 men were behind him, chasing him. Suddenly he heard a gunshot. He kept running, kept running, and then something told him to look back. So when he looked back, he saw his body on the ground. And he was out of his body. And then this intuitive thought came to him, I must go back. I must go back. So he went back to his body and he survived. If he did not go back to his body, he would not have survived. That's why nowadays you find on the internet a lot of out-of-body experiences. Yeah, especially some people who are on the operating theatre. They are under anesthesia. They don't know anything. Suddenly they come out of the body, and they see the doctor operating on them and the nurses, everything. But then because of attachment, they come back. If they don't come back, they'll never come back. So all these make me believe that there is a soul. So to summarize, our rebirth depends on our karma. And our karma depends on our mind state, whether we have a wholesome mind or unwholesome mind. So if you want to have a good rebirth, you have to develop yourself to have a wholesome mind. Then you will perform wholesome actions. And for that, the Dhamma is extremely important. A few months ago, I was in Manila, giving Dhamma talks for a few days, and there were many Catholics who came to listen. I asked them, what is the biggest sin in the world? Some people said, kill somebody. I said, no. I could not answer. What is the biggest sin in the world? Anybody know? Ignorance, not knowing the Dhamma. If you don't know the Dhamma, you do things that you should not do. Yeah? And you don't do things that you should do. So, you will go for a bad rebirth now. Now, what is the best rebirth? If you were to ask the Buddha, he will say what? No rebirth is good rebirth. Just like we say, no news is good news. So how to get no rebirth or always good rebirth? Just now we talked about karma and all that, to get a good rebirth. But that is for 1 or 2 lives, You cannot guarantee that you have a good rebirth all the time. So how to guarantee that you have a good rebirth all the time is to become an Arya. Basically, there are 4 types of Arya. You can say 8 types or so. 8 types in the sense that first path, first fruit, second path, second fruit, third path, third fruit, and fourth path, fourth fruit. But once you attain the path, it turns to fruit in the same lifetime. That's why sometimes people say only 4 types of Arya, the 4 fruits. Now, for lay people, I mentioned just now that it's almost impossible for you to attain the jhanas. Why? Because in the description of the first jhana, it is said, aloof or secluded from sensual desires, secluded from unwholesome states, a monk enters and abides in the first jhana. So for a person to attain the first jhana, you must be secluded or aloof from sensual desires and from unwholesome states. To be secluded from sensual desires and unwholesome states, you have to be a renunciant. A normal lay person, you have a lot of desires, yeah. So that's why lay persons almost impossible to attain the jhanas. Now, concerning the Aryans, There is a sutta which says that this sutta is Anguttara Nikaya 3.86 that says Sotapanna and the Sakadagamin, the first and the second fruit Arya, they have perfect sila. And just now I said perfect or Aryan sila is the 7 precepts. The second fruit, Sakadagamin, has perfect sila and the third fruit, the Anagamin, has perfect sila and samadhi. Perfect samadhi is the 4 jhanas. So the Anagamin must have 4 jhanas. The Arahan, which is the 4th fruit, must have perfect sila, samadhi and panya. So the 3rd fruit and the 4th fruit must have 4 jhanas. Now the difference between the Sotapanna and the Sakadagamin is that the Sotapanna does not need any jhana. The Sakadagamin needs either the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd jhana. There are some monks that say even Sotapanna you need the 1st jhana. But there is a sutta which confirms that the Sotapanna does not have jhana, and that is Samyutta Nikaya 55.40. There it says there are 2 types of Sotapanna, the diligent and the negligent. The diligent Sotapanna, after he becomes a Sotapanna, he makes further effort to attain the jhanas. The negligent Sotapanna, after he attains Sotapanna, he does not make any more effort to attain the jhanas. That shows both of them also don't have jhana. So for lay people to attain Sotapanna is not difficult. No need to strive for Sakadagamin. Cao liao, Sotapanna. Chak bei liao na. Once you have attained Sotapanna, which is by listening to the suttas, the Buddha says you have 7 more lifetimes. And these 7 lifetimes is always in heaven and in the human realm. And each time you come back, either heaven or human realm, you have very great blessings. You have long life compared to other people. You are beautiful, more beautiful compared to other devas and devis and humans. And then the 3rd is Sukhang. You are extremely happy, always happy inside. And then the 4th is Balang. Balang is 2 things. One is you become famous. Secondly, you have Selat. You will worldly success, worldly power. So for lay people, you must always strive to attain Sotapanna, because if you don't attain stream entry by listening to the suttas, you have to go for rebirth again and again, countless times, for eternity. And in that long cycle of rebirths, you will fall into the 3 woeful planes again and again, more often than going up to human rebirth and heavenly rebirth. So, for lay people, it's very important to listen to the suttas. Even if you don't meditate, it's okay. If you can meditate to sharpen your mind, even better. Now, actually, in the same sutta 55.40 in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said, if you don't listen to his words and attain stream entry, the Buddha said you are not a Buddhist at all. You are a Bahiro, external sect follower. So a lot of people, they think that they are Buddhists, but if they don't listen to the suttas, the Buddha said, you are not his follower. Because the Buddha called all his followers savaka, hearers or listeners. Whether it's monks or nuns or laymen or laywomen, all are called hearers, savakas, listeners of his word. In other words, listeners of his discourses, the suttas. Because if you don't listen to his suttas, your faith in the Buddha is not solid. 1 year you say you're a Buddhist. After a few years, you pray and you cannot get what you want, then you give up Buddhism. Yeah. But in Buddhism, we don't come to pai for, we come to swear for. Yeah? Follow the Buddha's footsteps. Lastly, I'd like to talk about some false beliefs that some people believe that by doing certain things you will have a good rebirth. For example, praying or making vows or crying for whatever you want. The Buddha said in the Sutta, I think Anguttara Nikaya 5.43, the Buddha said, what we want, we cannot get by prayers, we cannot get by vows, we cannot get by crying for it, thinking about it. Buddha said you can get, why is there so much suffering in the world? The hell beings are crying out every day, praying for help. Who is helping them? The ghosts are crying every night, nothing to eat, walk on the streets, have to eat the dead dog or dead cat or dead rat or whatever, and nothing to eat, they have to go to the jamban and eat shit. So they are all crying, who is helping? Nobody can help. Because the world is made by our mind. So it's like when you're having a nightmare at night, you're crying in your nightmare, who can help you in your nightmare? Nobody can help you. You have to wake up. So, as some people say, for example, if they pray to Amitabha, last few moments they call out Amitabha's name, they will go to heaven. No such thing. A few years ago, I went to Telok Intan and to give a Dhamma talk, and the Buddhist there told me an old lady, one of their members, had just died. And a few days before she died, she was crying every day. They asked her why. She said, "Why? Who has taken all my clothes? I'm naked." But everybody saw that she was wearing clothes. She was not naked, but she saw herself as naked. What does it mean? It means she's going to a rebirth as a naked ghost. And the thing was, they asked me why. She has been chanting Amitabha for 30 over years. What is important is your heart, your character inside, not the external. Wasted her time, her energy, 30 over years. And some people believe you follow that religion, you will go to heaven. I had a relative who changed his religion from Taoism to another religion, and was very happy for 10 years. After 10 years, he had cancer. As he was dying, he saw ghosts, every day ghosts. And then he asked why. They could not explain to him. In the last moment, he shouted, "I don't believe in the religion anymore." And then too late. Now some people think, also another wrong belief, that your last thought moment is very important. As you are dying, if your last thought, you think of a good thought, you go for a good rebirth. This partly comes from Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma, they talk about rebirth linking consciousness. When you're dying, your last thought, rebirth linking consciousness, will bring you for a good birth if you have a good thought. This is contradicted in the suttas. Why? There's one sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 55.21. Mahanama was a cousin of the Buddha. And every evening, he would go to the monastery to help do some work. And then stay for the Dhamma talk, the Dhamma discussion at night. And maybe it finishes at 10 o'clock at night. Every night he'll walk back to his home in the city. The Buddha's time, all the monasteries were forest monasteries, a few kilometers from the city. And the city, they have these city gates, and they are closed for the night. So every night he walks back in the dark. Last time tak ada lampu jalan. No street lights. So he asked the Buddha, he said, every night I walk back in the dark like that. I was thinking maybe one night I get a tragic death. Somebody might murder me or might get run over by a wild horse or a wild bull or something. Then at the last moment when I'm dying, I'm scared. Will I go for a bad rebirth? Buddha said, don't worry, Mahanama, don't worry. For a long time, we have taken refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So the Buddha said, having listened to the Dhamma for so long, the mind is an elevated mind. The Buddha mentioned a few conditions like having faith in the Buddha, much learning, that means knowledge of the suttas, etc., sila, etc. So the Buddha said, this elevated mind will bring you for a good rebirth. So you see, even though your last thought is frightened, it's a frightening thoughts, you won't go for a bad rebirth. Now why? Why? Anybody can tell me? If you listen to my talks, you know, because when the doctor says that a person has died, what he means is that the breath has stopped, the pulse has stopped, the heart has stopped. Using these two conditions, the doctor says the person has died. This is called clinical death. Real death, if you study the suttas only, you know. Even the Mahayanis, they don't know. That's why they say once a person has died, you cannot move the body for 8 hours. Because they don't know. There's a sutta where the Buddha said, when a person dies, really dies, 3 things must stop. The vital energy, what we call chi in Chinese. Secondly, the thoughts. The thought must stop. The thinking. Thirdly, the body heat. The body becomes cold. So, when the doctor says that somebody has died, that is clinical death. But usually for maybe 4 or 5 hours, he's still alive. As long as the body is warm, the mind is still going on. He's still thinking. Now this thinking, he has no control. Because when the doctor says that this person has died, the 5 senses have closed. The eye, the ear, nose, tongue, body. He's no more conscious of the outside world. He's only conscious of his dream state. This is like when we are sleeping at night and we are dreaming, we are not conscious of what is happening outside. So this dreaming state depends on your character. If a person is a violent character, he'll be dreaming he's fighting, and then he might be reborn as an animal. If that person is a gentle character, practices the Dhamma, then he'll have a very peaceful thinking, pleasant thoughts. So it is this state, this last few hours of thinking, nobody can control. It depends on your character. And that determines your rebirth. That's why it's so important to develop a wholesome mind, so that you get a wholesome character. And then you get a beautiful soul that comes out, not a fierce Dracula that comes out. So I shall end here and invite questions.
Excuse me, Bhante. Is jhana a state that is continuous, or when the person is meditating?
Oh, jhana cannot be continuous, only when the person is meditating.
So when the person is not meditating, it cannot be in jhana?
No. He's in a coma, maybe.
Thank you. Bhante.
Wait. Firstly, it's very difficult to attain jhana. You have to make a lot of effort. And even after you start to attain jhana, you will fall out of it very fast. It's just like somebody carrying weight. You train yourself to carry heavier and heavier weight. And when you carry as heavy a weight as you can you hold it for long? You cannot. Just like those people in the weightlifting contest, the moment they carry it up quickly, they must throw it down. And the same. So you might be able to enter jhana for a short moment, very soon you come out of it. Because you don't have the muscle up here. to prolong it. Yes?
Bhante, can you repeat again the three features of real death?
Chi, the vital energy must stop. Secondly, the mind must stop, the thinking. Thirdly, the body heat.
Bhante, I don't understand how the thinking can stop when a person dies.
Because when the person dies, the whole system has cooled down. Are you talking about the real death?
Yes, real death. Because do we really need a brain to think?
You don't need a brain to think?
Yeah, then if the brain dead, our thinking still going on.
Yes, if you are not really dead now. If you are really dead now, then our body is like a shell. It is not us. We are residing in the body as a spirit. We came into this body in the womb. And when this body dies, we have to leave it now. Don't associate the body with yourself. The body is not yourself.
Yes. Then when we die, as you say, there's still a soul. And this soul still capable of thinking, am I right?
Yes, but I'm not very sure whether it's blur at that time.